You're listening to the Fierce Fatty podcast, episode 176. Lisa Marie Presley died from weight loss surgery. Legends that Fatphobia stole, part 2. I'm your host, Vinnie Wellsby. Let's do it. Hello, welcome to this episode, Fierce Fatty and Fierce Fatty allies. How you doing? How's life? How's it treating you? You good? I'm good. You good? I've got a song stuck in my head. I'm going to get it stuck in your head. All I need is the air that I breathe and to love you. You know that song? Sometimes. I'll YouTube it. It's called, it's the Hollies, The Air That I Breathe, is it? Is it? Give you a little snippet. Maybe I'll get in trouble. I'll do it for 1 second. The Air That I Breathe. Okay, The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies. There you go, there's a little. I might get my video taken down of.
Ease me weak to sleep, silent angel. Go to sleep.
Anyway, another famous person dead because of fatphobia. I put out a post, when was it? July 13th, on Instagram. Lisa Marie Presley died from complications from prior weight loss surgery, autopsy report shows. And previously, about a week before, July 4th, I put out another Instagram post. How much did fatphobia and diet culture lead to these famous people's deaths? And those were a roundup of a previous podcast episode that I did, Legends that Fatphobia Stole, episode 145. Put it in the show notes, and that covered people like Amy Winehouse, Cass Elliot, Karen Carpenter, Nikki Graham, Heidi Gunther, and many others. And so, yeah, on this post that I put up before Lisa Marie Presley's autopsy results were shown, people were like, and this person, and that person, and this person, and that person, and they weren't people that I had covered in that previous episode. And I mean, there's probably so many people who have died because of anti-fatness, famous people specifically. And so some of these, I'm going to read out people's comments and then I'm going to tell you what I found, information about it. But before we do, let's talk about Lisa Marie Presley. And quick thing, if you like the show, if you want it to continue and you like this work, you want to support the work of a fierce fatty like me, go to Ko-fi and you will get free shit. So Ko-fi, Fierce Fatty, link in the show notes. Links to everything that we're talking about today in the show notes, which is fiercefatty.com/176, or in your show notes on your apps. Trigger warning for this episode because we're talking about people who've died from eating disorders, people who have experienced trauma. There's one brief mention of SA, sexual assault. It's one sentence, so I'll let you know when that's coming up if you need to skip ahead. Yeah, and disordered eating disorders, disordered eating, anti-fatness, all of that stuff. So it's a big one. It's a big one. And so if that's not feeling right for you today, please skip this episode. Go and listen to something else, or go and look at some videos of dogs online, or something like that. So on that first post that I had shared of, you know, that didn't mention Lisa Marie Presley because it came out a week or so before the autopsy results were announced, someone said, it's not widely mentioned really, but Lisa Marie Presley lost, shall I tell you? Wait, no. lost X pounds with, quote, medication, according to a reputable newspaper sources, in just 6 weeks to appear at the Golden Globes right before her death. She also had plastic surgery in that time period. So that was interesting. I messaged up her. I left a comment saying, "Oh, you were very right about Lisa Marie Presley." So I wonder if that weight loss with medication was Ozempic or what. But she had weight loss surgery many years before. Let me see. Actually, I didn't get that. How many years before? Lisa Marie Presley. Actually, it's on my Instagram post. A quick search is not telling me. I remember seeing 8 years ago that she had it. Years, people are reporting years, so that means minimum 3, presumably. But I think I remember seeing 8 years. Okay, so quote, Lisa Marie Presley's cause of death was the result of a surgery that she had undergone years before, an autopsy report confirmed. The only child of Elvis Presley, she experienced what's known as a small bowel obstruction, which sometimes occurs in people who've had bariatric surgery. The autopsy report was made public 6 months after Lisa Marie Presley died at the age of 54 on January the 12th, 2023. At the time, authorities confirmed she suffered cardiac arrest before her sudden death. She was found not breathing in her home in Calabasas, California, and was taken to the hospital where she was later declared dead. Lisa Marie Presley died from the after effects or sequelae of a small bowel obstruction. Sequelae is like effects of a procedure. Of a small bowel obstruction, when part of the small intestine is blocked, according to a July 13 autopsy. The report stated her obstruction was quote, caused by adhesions, bands of scar tissue, that developed after bariatric surgery years ago. It went on to note that, quote, the issue is a known long-term complication of bariatric surgery. Common complications that result from untreated small bowel obstruction include dead tissue, because the blockage can cut off blood flow to part of the intestine, which can result in a tear or an infection in the abdominal cavity called peritonitis, according to the Mayo Clinic. Presley had oxycodone and other medications in her blood, but these were only at therapeutic levels, meaning that she wasn't taking enough of these drugs for them to have contributed to her death, the report stated. The coroner wrote in the report that the morning of the day that Presley died, she had been experiencing pain in her abdomen. She complained of this symptom for months prior to her death, the coroner noted, along with feeling feverish, nausea, and vomiting. She died age 54, Jan 12th, 2023. Ugh, so tragic. And in that previous episode that I did, episode 145, I spoke about her father, Elvis Presley, and the awful anti-fat bias that he experienced. And Elvis's mum, she was a fat woman. And I think about that intergenerational trauma that anti-fatness has caused that family. And, you know, Elvis Presley's mum, what about her parents? Did she have fat parents? Presumably there's obviously, you know, fatness is just a normal way to have a body. And if your family are fat, then, you know, probably you're going to be fat, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe not. But, you know, that trauma that family have experienced potentially for generations, and also that beautiful shining light and talent that is there fighting on, you know, and then not. So I want to talk about the comments that people left on my previous post about the other celebrities. And I had made that post in end of 2022. And so it's been 8 months, I guess, since then. And so, other people have died. Maybe not, or maybe I just, didn't know about them. So the first one is Shane Warne, a famous Australian cricketer who was on extreme diets all his life and who died in March last year due to an extreme dieting affecting his heart, is the comment. And so here's some quotes for you about Shane Warne. And even I knew who Shane Warne was. I didn't hear that news, I guess because I'm in Canada, right? And I'm not reading news about cricket. But cricket is big in the UK, obviously. Okay, so Shane Warne passed away March 4th, 2022, to leave the whole cricketing fraternity in a state of shock. The 52-year-old was in Thailand on a personal trip where he breathed his last and left a huge void in world cricket with his sudden demise. Warne remains a legend of the gentleman's game with that 1001 international wickets, something blah, blah, blah. Cricket stuff. According to the brief statement given to Fox News by Warne's management, he died due to a heart attack during his Thailand trip. Quote, Shane was found unresponsive in his villa and despite the best efforts of medical staff, he could not be revived, the statement read. The family requests privacy at this time and will provide further details in due course, it added. For the unversed, the 52-year-old spin wizard Warne was on an extreme liquid diet in order to lose fat and regain shape. While sharing a picture on Twitter, the Aussie great had revealed sometime back. So he made a Twitter post, and the post said, quote, Operation Shred has started, 10 days in, and the goal by July is to get back to this shape from a few years ago. Let's go, end quote. According to Warne's manager, James Erskine, the Australian was serving a strict 14-day liquid diet. The diet comprised just liquids and no food. According to reports, the legendary spinner sweated a lot more than usual in the week prior to his sudden departure. Quote, he did go on these ridiculous sorts of diets, and he just finished one where he basically only ate fluids for 14 days. And he'd done these 3 or 4 times. News.com.au quoted Erskine as saying, he added, it was a bit all or nothing. It was either white buns with butter and lasagna stuff in the middle, or we'd be having a black and green juices. Oh, I don't like that food shaming there. He obviously smoked most of his life. I don't know. I think it was just a massive heart attack. That's what I think has happened, Erskine added. Yeah, and so other sources that I was looking at were saying like the effects of a liquid-only diet. It puts really great stress on your heart. Let me quote some of these. Okay, so here's a quote from ABC in Australia. After Warne's death from a suspected heart attack in Thailand, his manager, blah, 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 exactly what we just said. Nicole Bando, an accredited dietitian based in Melbourne, said so-called, quote, detox or, quote, juice diets were potentially dangerous because they involved the removal of whole food groups, including important nutrients from a person's diet. Quote, if you do a juice diet, it can actually lead to dilution of electrolytes, which are the salts in our blood. These include potassium, which is involved in conducting electricity and therefore the function of the heart. Professor Gary Jennings, Chief Health Advisor at the Heart Foundation of Australia, said such diets introduce the possibility of heart complications. People with underlying conditions such as diabetes, kidney and liver problems are also at severe risk of severe consequences, Professor Jennings added. What can happen with extreme dieting is that if the heart is not bathed in the right mixture of electrolytes and nutritional chemicals, then your heart gets more irritable. So if you were to have a heart attack, it's much more likely to lead to something more serious, such as cardiac arrest. Another issue with extreme diets, Ms. Bando said, is what happens when they end. When you introduce normal foods, you can actually cause a further imbalance of electrolytes, she said, referring to a phenomenon as refeeding syndrome. When normal eating is resumed, it can cause the levels of these salts to drop because they're being used in the metabolism of the food. On the extreme end, she said it can lead to heart arrhythmia, irregular heartbeat, as well as seizure, coma and death. Less severe symptoms include headaches, fatigue and nausea. Another problem with extreme diets, Ms. Mando says, was the myth that they detoxify the body, a process our bodies naturally undertake anyway. This nutritionist is the best. Oh my goodness, being quoted on ABC. Our body's incredibly evolved from the skin to the gastrointestinal system to our lungs, kidneys, and liver. They all remove various toxins from our bodies, whether that comes from food or internal toxins that are byproducts of our metabolism. Yeah. And apparently he was doing it, throughout his life. Well, obviously, as you just heard me read. It's just a shame. Like he was saying, like getting back into shape. Like he wasn't saying like getting, it was like, it sounds like when he says get back into shape, what I heard was physical appearance versus health, right? Okay. Dolores O'Riordan, lead singer of the Cranberries, our Irish band. They did that song, Zombie, 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 hey, hey, what's in your head, Zombie, 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 hey, 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 oh. Anyway, I'll stop singing. That's one of my go-to karaoke songs. People say, Vinny, how do you do some yodeling? And I just do it. Anyway, Dolores O'Riordan, someone commented, I could be wrong, but it was well known she struggled with an eating disorder. I'm sure it contributed to her death, if not their entire reason. She was 46 years old. Okay, so here's a quote that's going to come up with talking about essay, come back in 30 seconds, it will be over. Okay, so quotes about Dolores. Quote, for 4 years when I was a little girl, I was sexually abused. I was only a kid, Egan claims O'Riordan told him in 2013. That's what happened, she continued. You think it's your own fault. I buried it. It is what you do initially. You bury it because you're ashamed of it. You think, oh my God, how horrible and disgusting I am. You have this terrible self-loathing. And then I got famous when I was 18 and my career took over. It was even harder then, so I developed anorexia. When I Googled anorexia and studied it, I found that it was a common pathology that develops later on in life. So I was putting on the charade, this perfect face. I had anorexia, then depression, a breakdown. I knew I hated myself. I knew why I loathed myself. I knew why I wanted to make myself disappear. It was something that I noticed manifested itself in my behavior and the pathologies I began to develop in my early adult life, such as my eating disorder, depression, and eventually the breakdowns. I think I'm getting stronger for sure, but I'll always be a bit of a train wreck. Nobody's perfect. Those people who pretend they are perfect aren't perfect. And then she continues, I'm Dolores. I'm pretty good, but sometimes I hit the bottle. Everything is way worse the next morning. I chain smoke when I drink. I have a bad day, and when I have bad memories and I can't control them, I hit the bottle. I kind of binge drink. That is kind of my biggest flaw at the moment. On Monday, January 15th, 2018, police were called to a hotel in Park Lane in London, where O'Riordan was pronounced dead at the scene. Her death was confirmed by a publicist in a statement shortly after. Irish international singer has died suddenly in London today. She was 46-year-old. I think she died from an overdose. That was the official cause of death was drowning, caused by alcohol intoxication. Alcohol intoxication and drowning. It's a shame because I remember reading, it's a shame, full stop. Also, she was in London to record some new music, I think, from what I remember reading when she died. So, I mean, something like that is kind of what was going on. Can we clearly say that Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries died because of diet culture, anti-fatness? I think it's a contributing reason, right? And a lot of times people who have restrictive eating disorders using drugs or using alcohol. So, I feel like this one's not as clear cut because of, as well, the trauma that she experienced when she was younger. But I think it sounds like it had a contributing factor towards it. Yeah, because just the act of not having enough food really, really fucks with our bodies, right? It means that our bodies, it's like food is helping provide the building blocks for us to be robust humans. And I feel like it's a house that's built from bricks or a house that's built from straw, and the less food that you have, the less ability that you have to continue living and weather the storms, right? And so if your house is built of straw, then you're more likely to get sick, and you're more likely to feel the effects of alcohol and not be able to recover when things happen. So, like with the cricketer saying, it makes you more prone to not being able to recover from a heart attack. And I feel like with not eating enough and dieting and having an eating disorder, it's the same type of thing. And that's, a lot of times that's what happens when someone does have anorexia, is that, the heart is weak and they could get a, pneumonia or something and then die. Okay, so someone else commented, add Brittany Murphy to that list for sure. Anorexia leading to her immune system being weak. Just what I just said. Enough for her to have a community-acquired pneumonia, which is really, really rare in young people. So here's some quotes from an article from The Cut. Sounds like there's a new documentary coming out. Well, that was in 2021. But the whole Brittany Murphy thing is weird, right? There's lots of things going on. She had a controlling husband, and her mum was in there too, and there was weird stuff going on. So let me give you some quotes from here. In 1999, Murphy, already a rising star, started visibly losing weight and dyeing her hair blonde. Kathy Najimy of her King of the Hill co-star recalls Murphy saying, "That's what I've been told. If I want to be considered leading lady, I have to lose a lot of weight." Now, people who are my age, she was in Not Legally Blonde, Clueless. Whew! She was in Clueless. Do you remember, if you're the same age as me, I'm 38, watching Clueless and being in my head, she was fat. She was not fat. I'm going to make a post soon of all the people that in the 90s and the noughties, we were like, oh my God, they're so fat, and they are not fat. So anyway, yeah, they're saying she needs to lose a lot of weight. She was ever so slightly soft, just still growing. That's the still under the age of 25, that type of thing. So yeah. So continuing, Murphy was somewhat open about her transformation, though she adamantly denied having an eating disorder, so she'd lost a lot of weight. In 2000, she told Interview, I guess is a magazine or something, "A very important person in Hollywood said I was huggable, but not fuckable." Ugh. So I got these extensions put in my hair that made a big difference. Fuck that person in Hollywood. She's huggable and fuckable. She was. And she did book more parts, including her role alongside Ashton Kutcher in Just Married. HBO's documentary includes a recording of the Howard Stern show from shortly after the co-stars began dating, in which Stern can be heard telling Kutcher, "Can you believe she was the ugly chick in Clueless? She was a fat, ugly chick. She transformed herself." And I'm just looking at pictures from Just Married. So Just Married was in 2003. Clueless was 1995, so it was 8 years later. Clueless, she's tiny, and then Just Married, I don't know, she looks the same to me. I don't know. She just has blonde hair, and in Clueless she has brown hair. I don't know. And I guess she dated Ashton Kutcher in real life. And at Howard Stern, he proceeded to tell Kutcher that Murphy looked like she had, quote, been around the block a few times, and that he, quote, better wear a condom if she's been with Eminem. Of course, the praise for Murphy's extreme weight loss soon turned to talk of an eating disorder without much regard for her actual health. Bruce Bibby, a journalist who wrote for E under the pseudonym Ted Casablanca, said in the documentary that, quote, she was going around with a scarlet A on her body for anorexia. Everyone knew it. Everyone talked about it. According to Najami's account, Murphy was at a low point when Monjak entered her life in 2007. So Monjak was her soon-to-be husband 2 years before she died. It's not clear if she was yet abusing prescription pills, but the rumours had started and the press had become fixated on her weight loss. She was, quote, muddled and desperate, Najami says, and, quote, became prey to things that she thought would help her. She fired her entire team when they expressed concern about Monjak, in stating him as her agent, manager, lawyer, and eventually even makeup artist. He took over her financial decisions and drove her everywhere. Friends say she changed her phone numbers, making it impossible for anyone to reach her without going through her husband. And then continuing, after they left the set of The Caller, so Monjak would go with her to film sets. So after they left the set of The Caller, which was filming in Puerto Rico, Murphy, her mother, and Monjak all came down with what they called flu-like symptoms. According to the coroner, they treated themselves with over-the-counter medications, and when Murphy's conditions didn't improve, no one took her to get medical attention. Shortly before she died, she spoke with Monjak's mother on the phone, telling her, "I'm having trouble breathing. I can't breathe when I go to the top of the stairs," she said. "Do you think I'm dying?" The medical examiner who did her autopsy found that Murphy was already extremely anemic, a result of not getting enough nutrients, which lowered her resistance to illness. If any doctor had seen her hemoglobin levels a week or two, she died. According to the ME medical examiner, she would have been hospitalized. At some point, she developed pneumonia, which could have been easily detected by a chest x-ray and treated at hospital. According to the coroner, had they taken her to the doctor a few days before she died, she'd still be alive. Brittany Murphy died December 20th, 2009, age 32. Okay, the next comment, someone said, Judy Garland comes to mind. She was known to have a long history of heavy disordered eating and dieting, and while she died of an accidental overdose, there is speculation that her prolonged eating disorder contributed to her death as well. I think I remember hearing they pushed her into taking drugs to control her weight too. It definitely caused her substance addiction. Okay, some quotes. Judy Garland was 16 when she starred in her breakout role. 1939's The Wizard of Oz. At just 4 feet 11.5 inches, Garland had a cute girl-next-door charm, helped set her apart from her glamorous contemporaries like Elizabeth Taylor and Ava Gardner. But with success would come the need to maintain her youthful looks and thin frame. Pressures from Hollywood studio MGM that would fuel the legendary songstress's drug abuse and eventually led to her death. Now, more than 4 decades after her accidental drug overdose took her life at age 47, a new memoir about the late star pulls back the curtain on Garland's demons. The book, Judy and I, My Life with Judy Garland, is crafted from notes that Sid Luft, the third of Garland's 5 husbands, left unfinished before his 2005 death. But Garland's drug habit was believed to be an effort to numb her inner securities, particularly regarding her weight. Told by studio executives she had to watch her figure, she would go to extremes to lose any extra pounds. When she was filming 1950s Summer Stock, for example, Luft said she stopped eating altogether. She was also reportedly I don't want to say how much she weighs. She was also reportedly thin while making 1943's Presenting Lily Mars. Luft wrote that her entire life had been dominated by the constant pressure to be, quote, camera slim. Quote, most of her teen and adult life she had been on either Benzedrine or a diet or both, he wrote, explaining how Garland attempted to manage her weight. Unlike other actresses, she could not successfully camouflage extra weight, especially because she was dancing and singing in revealing costumes. Just 4 feet 11.5 inches, she could be underweight and still appear heavy or out of proportion on screen. Garland's love of food didn't help. Luft detailed her fondness for hearty meals, chowing down on comfort foods like spaghetti and eventually alcohol. Notice how they're saying, oh my goodness, she was dieting and, precious to be thin. And then using stigmatizing language for saying that she ate food, fondness for hearty meals, chowing down on comfort foods. Like, I mean, she doesn't even get a break. Like, if this article is saying, did dieting kill her? And when they say that she ate, because this is not Luft, the husband. This is the reporter's words. Even now, we're saying, well, when she did eat, she was eating fucking this and that. Like, Jesus Christ. Self-awareness much, reporter? Okay, continuing. Hoping to help Garland revive her career, Luft wrote that he tried to encourage her to watch what she ate. Fuck you, Luft. At times, she listened, but other times it became a point of contention between the two. Yeah, fuck off, Luft. Jesus, like, Luft has seen her being, in this terrible situation, and then he's saying, you need to lose weight. Feel better if I ate oats and hay? She allegedly shot back at him once when he suggested she eat an apple instead of spaghetti. Yeah, fuck you, Luft. Good for you, Judy. Feel better if I ate oats and hay? That's a comeback. I mean, imagine she's getting it from all sides, and then her person that she's meant to be, safe with is saying eat an apple instead of food, a meal. At one point, he told her, quote, "You must cut out all the hot fudge sundaes you adore. No more cheeseburgers, blood rare. Forget heaps of mashed potatoes and gravy. No more fettuccine Alfredo," he wrote. Oh my God. Judy was staring at me with her huge saucer eyes. "No Alfredo?" she echoed. "I might not be able to go on." Yeah, you tell him, Judy. Fucking rude. Adding to the pressure surrounding food, the press often grilled Garland about her weight. In an interview in 1951, Luft wrote that she told reporters, "I may be awfully fat, but I feel good." She was actually pregnant and would later have an abortion. Oh my God, Judy Garland sounds amazing. She's basically telling everyone to fuck off, right? Luft and Garland, who married in 1952, were living, quote, virtually separate lives a decade later. He said the constant struggle to diet caused her to descend further and drove them further apart. Well, maybe, Luft, if you didn't fucking encourage her to have an eating disorder. He said, if I were to show concern, she'd abruptly tell me to fuck off. He wrote. Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, like, he's so concerned. One minute he's like, eat an apple, and the next minute he's like, oh, maybe you should eat something. Oh, fuck off. Yeah, fuck off. You tell her. You tell him, Judy. Despite having 2 children together, Lorna and Joey Luft, they divorced in 1965. A year later, she was completely broke, her new managers having embezzled large sums from her. She died in 1969 from an accidental overdose. She couldn't have weighed more than a low amount of weight, he wrote. She was totally burned out, destroyed. I couldn't save her. Yeah, you couldn't save her. You fucking the one that hurt her. Not the only one, but... You know what? That juxtaposition between, oh, lose weight, and, oh, but don't lose too much weight, and, oh, don't be fat, but don't be obsessed with being thin. It's kind of like, can't... And that's where we're at in society, right? Of people, not everyone, but a lot of people being like, it's okay to be a little bit chubby, maybe, but you have to be thinking about the health, and it's kind of like, can't you see how that's not helping? Okay, so Terry Schiavo. So this is an older case, and I wasn't aware of this because it happened in North America, and it happened in the US, and I think it was before my time. But basically, Terry Schiavo was someone, she was famous after, she wasn't famous before, she was famous after she was dieting. She fell into a coma, and she was in a coma for 20 years. So at the age of like 20, she was in a coma for 20 years, and her husband wanted to stop. She was comatose, non-responsive, and doctors said that she would never recover. It'd been 20 years, and they said her brain was really small, and there was no activity, and and so it was a famous court case of her husband wanted to let her die, and her parents said that she wouldn't have wanted that. Eventually, a judge ruled that she was allowed to die at her husband's wishes, and she was then starved to death, which, I mean, horrific. Anyway, so some quotes about this. Beneath all the controversy surrounding the Terry Schiavo case is an important detail about what brought on her condition in the first place. Complications from an eating disorder that caused heart failure and led to severe brain damage. Schiavo's case is tragic for innumerable reasons, but it should also serve as a wake-up call that eating disorders can have serious, sometimes fatal consequences. Robert Bazell, NBC News' chief science correspondent, explains the dangers of eating disorders and why Schiavo's case should be a cautionary tale for many. How is it that an eating disorder can lead to heart failure and, in the extreme case of Schiavo, a vegetative state? I don't know if vegetative state is the correct words that we should be using nowadays. That seems pretty not accurate, because it's kind of dehumanizing saying vegetable. As someone who is non-responsive is still a human, right? They've not turned, anyway. I don't know about that, but I don't like that. Okay, well, fortunately, it is a very rare thing that can happen, but when people have bulimia, which is what Terry Schiavo is reported to have, people eat large amounts and then purge themselves by either vomiting or using laxatives extensively. Bulimia can cause a sudden dehydration of the body that causes an imbalance of electrolytes, and particularly potassium. When that happens, it can cause irregularities in the electrical signal, so it could cause the heart to stop beating. That is reportedly what happened to Terry Schiavo. She died in 1995 and was 41 years old. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I said, isn't that horrible that she died they stopped feeding her. What I mean by that is that, isn't it a shame that we don't have, in most of places in the world, legal euthanasia? So how, she could have been given an injection and died peacefully, whereas because of legislation about that in most places in the world, she had to die slowly, which seems cruel. I don't know, if someone is, and I know that's probably the decision that many people have to make, right? And I'm not saying it's a wrong decision, but it seems, wouldn't it be nicer for everyone if, instead of having to make that decision, someone could just be given an injection and die quickly and peacefully? Yeah, and it's tough, right? Because obviously she's unresponsive, but how much would she be aware of, if anything? And I think this case was like, basically she's not aware of anything, but it was controversial. So, I don't know all the details. Yeah. And it happened in 1995. So maybe if this happened today, it might be different. Who knows? And I wonder, like, if the parents wanted her to be alive, why wouldn't the husband just be like, hey, parents, you can, look after her? Or was the husband like, oh, I know that this is what she wanted? Who knows? Anyway, some people might be like, I'm going to do some watching YouTube about this because I want to know more. Like, a lot of these things, I'm like, I need to know more about this. Okay, someone else said, Roy Orbison died at 52, literally from yo-yo dieting. So Roy Orbison sang, pretty woman, walking down the street, pretty woman, the kind of hoe I like to meet. Yeah, it's girl, the kind of girl I like to meet. And and other songs. Pretty Woman singer Roy Orbison wasn't one for drugs or alcohol during his 30-year career. Yet a TV documentary is claiming the 1960 star, famed for such hits as Only the Lonely and Crying. I don't know Only the Lonely. Crying, is it? Crying over you. Something like that. Had a different kind of dangerous addiction. Yo-yo dieting. FYI, dieting is not an addiction. It's, a lot of people are like, I'm addicted to this and that and whatever, and it's not actually addiction, right? The singer and songwriter died at the age of 52 following a heart attack while visiting his mother in Hendersonville, Tennessee. American pathologist Dr. Michael Hunter claims the reason behind the rock and roll icon's death was due to an unhealthy obsession with his diet. The cycle of substantial weight gain followed by drastic weight loss would have undoubtedly placed tremendous strain on his heart, Dr. Hunter reveals in a new episode of Autopsy, The Last Hours Of, which is due to be aired in the UK later this year. And we already know that weight cycling, yo-yo dieting, which is just basically dieting, is not good for our health. Okay, so someone says, I sometimes wonder about Prince. There were early interviews where he talked about staying thin in an alarming way. Okay, so with Prince, there was his personal chef, leaked kind of like what was his final meal, that type of stuff, but I wasn't able to find stuff about him talking about staying thin, probably because if it was in early interviews, that would just be like classed as health advice or whatever. But I'm sure if I did a bit more digging, I'd find it. But here's what the NME has reported. Prince was eating less and losing weight towards the end of his life. The musician's personal chef has revealed. Ray Roberts worked for Prince for the last 3 years and cooked all of his meals at his Paisley Park home, as well as joining him on tour. Speaking to the Associated Press, Roberts confirmed that he noticed a change in Prince's diet in his final weeks and added that his boss was regularly ill too. It felt like he wasn't himself probably the last month or two, Roberts said. I think he was just struggling with being sick a lot. The chef added that Prince would have sore throats or seemed that he wasn't feeling well for, quote, weeks at a time this year. His regular diet of roasted beetroot and spicy soups changed as he started drinking smoothies and fresh juices to soothe his throat and stomach. Notice how both of those things are not proper meals. Roasted beetroot is not a meal. Soup is not a meal, right? You need to be having more. And so normally he's not eating enough, right? Roberts cooked for Prince the evening before the musician was found dead at his home. I mean, soup, if it was like super hearty and had loads of things in it and, you had like bread and stuff, that, of course you would eat. Sometimes you'd eat soup for lunch or whatever, but, if that's all you're eating, then that's not enough, right? Roberts cooked for Prince the evening before the musician was found dead at his home. However, the roasted red pepper bisque with kale and spring vegetable salad went uneaten. See, this is not enough. This is not enough food. Roasted red pepper bisque. Bisque is soup, right? With kale and spring vegetable salad. So soup and salad. You're missing something from this. You need to, a sandwich in there at least. The cook said that he found a plate of food in Prince's fridge when he returned to the property following news of his death. Prince died April 21st, 2016, age 57. So, I mean, inconclusive. And as well, by the way, a lot of times people could be dying from not eating enough food, and it could be just reported as natural causes. For example, Lisa Marie Presley, a lot of news outlets were just saying that she died of natural causes. They didn't mention anything to do with bariatric surgery. So, I think the awareness now is bringing this stuff to light, but yeah, and like, what's her name? What's her name from the Mamas and the Papas? Cass Elliot, Mama Cass. And I think they said that she died of natural causes, but and then the press was like, she died choking on a ham sandwich, which is a lie. That didn't happen. But she was taking tons of diet pills. So, I mean, at that time, I can't remember when she died, probably the 70s or 80s or whatever. But, you know, the press would not be like, anti-fatness killed Mama Cass. Instead, they made a joke about it, saying that she, and that was like an urban legend that went around. So I'm not sure if mainstream press were reporting that. I don't know, probably. Okay, next person said Laird Krieger. He went on crash diet so that he could get leading men roles instead of being the villain. He died after undergoing weight loss surgery, 31 years old. Okay, so we've got mixed reports on this. The crash diet that Krieger followed for his roles in The Lodger and Hangover Square, which included prescribed amphetamines, placed strain on his system, resulting in severe abdominal problems. He underwent surgery at the beginning of December 1944. Okay, so we have reports he undergoes surgery because weight loss drugs have caused him abdominal problems. All right, we don't know what the surgery is. According to TCM host Eddie Muller's January 2023 post-film comments on Hangover Square, the procedure was bariatric surgery intended to control his weight. Muller's source, however, was a website with fictional stories told in the first person by dead people, including Krieger. The fictional story also suggested that Krieger was gay and was involved in a murder. In fact, the first weight loss surgery was performed in 1954, 10 years after Krieger's death. Okay, so there seems to be some like false reports. So he died in 1944. I just reported on the first bariatric surgery, actually. Let's see. When was that? Let's just double check what they're saying. 1954. Yeah, the first weight loss surgery. However, there could have been surgeries that weren't officially labeled bariatric surgeries that could be something in the region of it, or he had this surgery caused by diet pills, right? The surgery, and it says a few days after the surgery, he had a heart attack and died. So that sounds like he died from the surgery. The surgery was because of complications from taking amphetamines to lose weight. So I feel like there's partial truth there. We don't know. And also, we can't say for sure if it's the surgery that did kill him. But he was only 31 years old. Also, he wasn't... it didn't seem to me like he was a fat person. So not that that's got really anything to do with anything. I don't know why I said that. I guess what I was saying is that, people could say, well, he died because of fatness. And we know that, people don't die from fatness. They die from things associated with fatness, which caused by a variety of things, mostly anti-fat bias. But could he have been suffering from anti-fat bias? Yes, 100%. He sounds like he wanted to, have these roles where he's not playing the villain. So he died. He rallied briefly after his heart attack when he was put in an oxygen tent, but died December 9, 1944, age 31. His mother was at his bedside. Hangover Square was released 2 months after his death. Okay. Someone else said, Canada's beloved actor and comedian John Candy could be added to this list. Yeah, John Candy, love him. Wasn't he the best? Wasn't he amazing? Okay, so quotes. Candy's father died of heart disease at 35 years old. His brother suffered a heart attack as well. With his family history looming over him, Candy went on diets and worked with trainers to attempt to get in better shape. Quote, I know what I have to do if I want to lose weight and stay healthy. Eat a proper diet and exercise, he said in 1994. All I've got to do is apply it. At one point, it seemed to be working. Candy went on so-called Pritkin diet. losing a large amount of weight in a summer. He always worked on his weight and his health, said son Chris. His son Chris would say after his death. He had trainers and would work at whatever the new diet was. I know he did his best. So let's see what the Pritkin diet is. So again, he's losing a lot of weight over a short amount of time. Oh, like I hate Googling this stuff. It just seems like, a diet. It doesn't seem like, you're not allowed a lot of things. It's a plant-based diet, basically. I mean, any diet's bullshit, but it didn't sound like it was like some extreme thing. So he died on the 4th of March 1994 at the age of 43. The star had been working on his film Wagons East in Mexico when he suffered a fatal heart attack. Sounds like he had a massive genetic predisposition to issues with his heart. So who knows, right? Who knows? Who knows if it's a case of, he's doing all these diets to lose a lot of weight. And I mean, I don't want to say how much he lost, but that is an extreme diet. Like what that could be doing to his predisposition for surviving a heart attack. If his brother survived one, could it be that if he wasn't dieting that he could have survived this heart attack? Who knows, right? Kind of speculation. All right, Aaron Carter. So Aaron Carter was the brother of one of the Backstreet Boys. And if you're my age, he was famous when we were young. So Aaron Carter is opening up about his health. The singer posted a string of tweets detailing his struggle with hiatal hernia, which he called, quote, a terrible stress condition that affects me having an appetite and, quote, an eating disorder. By the way, y'all want to know why I'm so skinny? Carter wrote in his first tweet on the subject. It's because at 19, I was diagnosed with hiatal hernia. I didn't choose that. Be kind to me. According to the Mayo Clinic's online database, a hiatal hernia occurs when part of the stomach pushes upwards into the diaphragm, or often causing heartburn and other symptoms, including feeling especially full after meals. So, to visualize it, so imagine the stomach, and then imagine, the tube going into the stomach, but the tube has like a tennis ball at the top of it. And so it's like a protrusion above where the stomach is. So presumably you'd eat something and it would go into that smaller pocket and that you would feel full. And then obviously that would feel uncomfortable because it's outside of where the stomach is. Okay, so continuing. I'm sorry, sometimes I really wish I did look better or eat more like y'all say. This life doesn't come with much stability, Carter continued. If you don't believe me, ask my brother. He was there when I was 19 diagnosed. It's a stress eating disorder. I'm sorry I didn't choose this. I was curious about him saying it's a stress eating disorder. Like, what does he mean by that? Like, he can't eat, he couldn't eat as much because of this thing. Would it be classed as an eating disorder, as in a mental illness? Well, hiatal hernia can be caused after excessive induced vomiting. So perhaps something like that was going on. I don't know. Or not. I don't know. Okay, so November 5th, 2022, Carter died at his home in Lancaster, California at age 34. His body was found in his bathtub by a housekeeper. An autopsy performed, but the cause of death deferred pending toxicology report. He had a twin sister called Angel. That's a shame. On April 18th, 2023, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner coroner announced that Carter drowned after inhaling I won't read the drug names because they're long, but he inhaled gas from spray bottle things and then another drug. So his death was accidental, according to the official ruling. So I don't know with that one. There's no clear evidence that he had an ED. He was small, right? He had a smaller body, but there could be something there. I don't know. Yeah, so he died in 2022, age 34. Okay, someone else said, Scottish singer Lena Zavarone. Her tale is equally tragic anorexia story. So, Lena Zavarone was a Scottish singer and a television show host. At 10 years of age, with her album, Ma, He's Making Eyes at Me. That's so creepy. Ma, He's Making Eyes at Me, and she was 10 years old? Was it like a romantic song? That's creepy as fuck, man. She was the youngest person in history to have an album in the top 10 UK album charts. And then we have this article talking about the mum says, I noticed her getting very thin and took her to the doctor, says Zavarone, the mum. I know about anorexia now because I made it my business to, but then you'd never heard the name, the doctor said. Your daughter has this psychological illness. She was at the Italia Conti Performing Arts School then, and they were all on diets there. Girls are girls and don't like to get too fat. We're all like that. But then it got extreme. Isn't that interesting, right? The mum is saying, girls will be girls. They don't want to get fat. By the way, the mum's fat. We're all like that, but then it just got extreme. It goes into the mind. Her not eating was a never-ending battle. It's a very difficult illness for the person and for the people around them. The only thing Lena ever complained about was her illness. It was a torment to her, she'd say. It's as if I'm living in a tunnel. So from the age of 13, she had anorexia and also developed clinical depression when she was 15. Following an operation to cure her depression, she died from pneumonia, age 35, in 1999. The details around this operation are sketchy, but I saw the word lobotomy thrown around in the Wikipedia article. I thought lobotomies were made illegal like a long time ago. Let me see it. Unless there's like some other like version of it, like an operation for her depression. Lobotomy. Yeah, lobotomy became popular in the 1930s. Maybe people still do it. There didn't seem to be an end date. Oh, it's banned. Okay, it's banned. I was like, when did they ban it? The Soviet Union banned it in 1950. By 1970s, numerous countries had banned the procedure, as had several US states. Yeah, so if by 1970s it was banned, then why would... Interesting. We'll have to look more into that, and what this surgery is. Maybe it's like lobotomy type, but it's not an actual lobotomy. Okay, so this is what the Wikipedia article says. In September 1999, Zavarone was admitted to the University of Hospital Wales in Cardiff for the psychosurgical operation. They say the operation, but they've not mentioned the operation before. So I'm guessing it should be a psychosurgical operation. It took place on the 7th of September and was described as, quote, pioneering. After the operation, she appeared to be in a satisfactory condition, and after a week she was, quote, making telephone calls, cheerful and engaging in conversation, even asking her doctor if she thought there were any chance that she could get back on stage and sing again. However, three weeks after the operation, she contracted pneumonia, which saw her weight drop, and she died from bronchial pneumonia on the 1st of October. Although some reports said that the surgery was a lobotomy, also known as a leucotomy, the hospital said that it was not, and the treatment was intended for depression rather than anorexia, as was rumoured at the time. Isn't that interesting? So I wonder what the fuck that was. That was in 1999. It's only like 20-ish years ago. Were they doing a lobotomy in Wales? Wales! Okay, the last one. Maria Callas. All these people who are singers. She was an opera singer. Quote, when she lost lots of weight in 1 year, Maria Callas transformed herself from, this is an article written recently, so stigmatizing. She's transformed herself from fat and dowdy into a svelte and elegant diva. Fucking eye roll. The pressure to stay thin was tremendous for the food-loving soprano. Again, with the shaming, like classifying someone as food-loving, as if that's a bad thing. We're all food-loving. We're humans. We eat food. Jesus Christ. Newly published personal papers show how she tried to comfort herself during her tormented battles with her weight. I mean, like this, again, the sentence before, they're saying that she transformed herself from fat and dowdy to svelte and elegant. And the next sentence, she's tormented with battles with her weight. Well, because people like you have written shit like that. And then that's now. Imagine if it was when she was around. Way more cruel. Okay, so Callis began a habit of meticulously recipe collecting, scribbling down instructions for her favourite dishes as she travelled the world. She would steal recipes from famous cooks in hotels, writing them on scraps of paper and stuffing them into her handbag. But they were for food she herself would never eat. She loved food, especially cakes and puddings, but lived mostly on steak and salad, said Callis expert Bruno Tosi, who was allowing their handwritten recipes to be published for the first time in Italy. Writing down these recipes was a vicarious pleasure because she rarely allowed herself to taste any of them. It goes on to talk about how she would have dinner parties and stuff and get the recipes made by her chefs, but she wouldn't eat any of it. Callis's international career began in 1947 when opera singers were expected to be fat. Oh, really? I haven't heard that one before. The opera singers were expected to be fat in 1947. Is that true? I'm going to put a pin in that with a They don't use the word fat, by the way. But I'm not going to say how much she weighed, but but being fat, she felt miserable and regarded herself as ugly and unlovable. When the director, Luchino Visconti, told her to lose loads of weight before he would work with her, she dropped even more weight than he told her. She then went on to lose even more weight. According to legend, Callis's enormous weight... Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, enormous weight loss, sorry. Enormous weight loss, okay. I was going to say, but like, fucking hell. According to legend, Callis's enormous weight loss came about because she deliberately swallowed a tapeworm. Tosi, president of the International Maria Callas Association, said she did have to have treatment for worms, possibly because of her fondness for raw steak, but she dropped the weight by following diet based on consuming iodine. It was a dangerous treatment because it affected the central nervous system and changed her metabolism, but she turned into a beautiful swan, said Tosi. I mean, my God, she's eating iodine. It affected her central nervous system, changed her metabolism, but fuck that. She turned into a beautiful swan. Oh, for fuck's sake. I mean, no wonder people struggled when that's how people talked about them, knowing that they suffered tremendously, even after they're dead. Oh my God. Anyway, Callis spent her last years living largely in isolation in Paris and died of a heart attack aged 53, September 16th, 1977. So she was married to, what's his name? Onassis. Horatio Onassis? Someone shouting at me and like, no, it's this Onassis. Alberto Onassis? I'm going to Google it. Who left her for Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy, who turned into Onassis. And so she was really heartbroken from that. And he was like a shipping magnate. Aristotle. I knew it was a name. I knew it was some name like that. Aristotle. Looks like he was with Jackie Onassis from 1968 to 1975. He died in 1975. I wonder what happened to Jackie Onassis. She died in 1994. See how you can go into freaking rabbit holes with this? You'd be like, let me see about Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy. How did she die? What about John F. Kennedy? What about this? What about his assassination? What about the gunman? What about this other murder? Like, I think she had non-Hodgkin lymphoma. She died aged 64. Anyway, we're not talking about Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy. So that's the end of all of the things that people suggested. And you might be like, hang on, you're missing a load of other famous people because they were in the first episode. But I'm going to make this into an Instagram post and put it on there. So if you've got others that you're like, what about this one? What about that one? We can look into that if there's lots of other people suggested. And I mean, shit, this is all fucked up, isn't it? Isn't this horrible? I hate this. It's just, I find it like, especially with the mum of the Scottish singer being like, you know, girls will be girls. We all don't want to be fat. Like, how eerie, or like how it's just so accepted, you know? Weird, right? Weird and alarming. It's alarming, you know? Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me today. If you want to see the first post that I posted, I'll leave a link in the bio with the other ones. Not all of them, because some of them it's like, in the last episode, some of them it's like, oh yeah, clearly they died because of anti-fat bias, because someone said, you're too fat, you need to lose weight, and then they developed an eating disorder. Some of these are kind of like, I mean, Lisa Marie Presley, yes, 100%. Shane Warne, yes, you know. Brittany Murphy, I'd say that's a strong kind of like, it sounds like her body was really weak because she didn't have enough food. Terry Schiavo, yes. Roy Orbison, yes. Laird Krieger, yes. Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, I mean, like, you know, there's a few where it's like, I'm not sure. Lena Zavaroni, yeah. So anyway, okay, so thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna go make some lunchy poos because I'm hungry, especially talking about all of this stuff. Oh, yeah, and if you like the show, you want to contribute towards me continue making the show, go to Ko-fi, and depending on the level you sign up for, as little as $5, you can get free shit. So go check that out. Remember to stay fierce, fatty, and I will see you in a while, alligator. Okay, bye.